Hello, this is Anna from Madame So. Today I have a different kind of tutorial for you. I want to show you how you can put together a quilt top without a pattern. You can really just use improvisational piecing and cutting, and all you really need is some fabric, your ruler, and this is Madame So's grip ruler, and it has all around it. I'm not sure you can see it on camera, but the edge is a little rougher than the center, so it really grips your fabric and it gives you some really nice, accurate cuts. And your rotary cutter. So first thing you need to do is kind of choose your color scheme, decide on what fabrics you want to use. I have 12 fat quarters here, 6 in yellows and 6 in grays, but my lightest gray is not really a gray, it's a white, so I'm not going to use that because I think I will probably use some white for my background. I haven't decided yet, but I might. So I'm not going to use that. I am going to pick a print in gray. So that's going to stand in as my 12 fat quarter. So I've looked at some pictures, kind of have an idea of what I want. I want some large triangles. I want it to be easy. I thought about doing pinwheels, which with the gradation can look very nice, but I wanted something quick and easy. So first thing I need to do is just spread this fabric out a little bit and make some bigger pieces so I can see how they're going to work together. Who's going to go next to whom? Am I going to keep all my grays on one side and all my yellows on another side, or am I going to alternate them? And I think my original idea, I was looking at some pictures. I saw a really beautiful picture of a really stormy sky with a field of wheat, and like really beautiful golden colors. And I like that idea of having the grays on the top and the yellows on the bottom, and having some triangle shapes. So I think I'm going to go for something like that. And I don't know if I'm going to keep them in the same order or if I'm going to mix them up. I want to see how that's going to play out. Let's see. I want a nice big triangle here. And I don't intend my triangles to be regular in any way. It's not the most efficient use of fabric. If you really want to conserve fabric, you're better off with a pattern or with some something where you can make small cuts like pinwheels or log cabins or things like that, where you have some smaller pieces of fabric and you're not just winging it so much. And you know what? I'm just going to start cutting those grays and see what happens. I'm just going to go from corner to corner. And because my ruler doesn't reach to the other corner, over here, see, my ruler is not long enough to get to the corner, so I'm just going to get a little help from another ruler. There we go. Now, as always, press down and see how nicely this grips it. Get the safety of your wheel. And just move your fingers down. Now I'm going to move this up. Oh, looks like I may need a new, yeah, I should have changed my blade. So now I'm just going to use this line to move my ruler down. Okay. So that's one. And it's a crib size quilt, so it's going to be about 40 by 56, 36 by 56, somewhere in there. Here, maybe I'll make a shallower triangle. And I know if you're a traditional quilter, this is giving you probably hives already, but it's okay. It's sort of like an improvised puzzle, and then you can put it together at the end. And I'm going to go change my blade off camera. Okay. So I have these two cuts. I'm going to start putting together. I want to get an idea of how this is going to play out. this. And now I need to fill this up. Let's see. So I think I'm going to do another long cut for this one. So let's see. These are going to go side by side. And then I think I'm going to use that in that corner. So now I need to fill up this space. So I think if I do another 45-degree here, I'll have it all filled. And let's see, let me move back and see if I like that. Yeah, I think I like it. Let's just see, I don't think this is going to be wide enough for what I want. So maybe I need to move things out a little bit and fill with 2 new triangles here. You have to remember also that once you start sewing together, you're going to be you're going to be losing a 1/4 inch on each piece of fabric. So that will reduce your width a little. So yeah, maybe I'll move that out and this out. Let's see. Something like this, and then a thin wedge of the print might look really nice here actually. Let's see. Yep, like that. Yeah, I'm gonna cut here. Another 45-degree angle, and I'm not gonna be very exact, but I want to show you how it works. So here on your ruler you have several lines and they're marked with what degree they are: 30, 45, 60, and then on this side again 30, 45, and 60. So you lay down, depending on which side you want to go, you aligned the angle that you want, the line marked with the angle that you want against one straight edge, and then this here is your 45-degree angle. So you can decide where you want to put it. And I think in my case, I'm going to put it here. Okay, press down. And I'm actually going to start piecing together, and I'm going to keep this is a smaller piece of fabric, so I don't want to make a cut that then I cannot use. So I'm going to piece this part together, and then we'll come back and we'll cut this piece. Okay, so I've sewn my pieces together and I've actually gone off plan. I couldn't remember what I had planned, so I did it differently, but that's the beauty of it. It all fits together. So I have my 2 darker pieces, and I ended up going with the spectrum. But I do want my print. I don't want another lighter gray. So I'm just going to fit it together, fit it in here and see what I want to do. Yeah, I like it, but you know what? I don't like these lines coming in here. They're not fitting perfectly, and that's bothering me. But I think I like it yeah, this is good. And you know what? This makes it easier actually, because I'm using the right angle of the fabric. Okay, so that's going to be my top. No, I really like it. Everything is sewn with the 1/4 inch seam, and the only thing you need to remember is if you're doing points, you want to be mindful, that they coincide at the tips there. And this one didn't, and it's actually bothering me enough that I'm going to undo this seam and just make it match here at the tip. So I had it here, and see that little end there? If it was larger, it would look intentional, but this way it just looks sloppy. So it's better to fix it. And anyway, I should have trimmed this selvage. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start trimming this end, and it's going to be a 1/4 inch from the angle here, and that's the first step. And that's a 1/4 of an inch. Okay, safety off. Walk your fingers down, And actually, something else you can do is you can use this handy grip. Up. Now it's really... Okay, so this seam is good. Now to the next one. Let me just make sure this is the right angle. And it is. So I'm going to align it right here. And again, I'm right at the tip here and slide it so that I have 1/4 of an inch. Recheck here and cut. We're ready to attach this back on. We're just going to line it up here. And I'm actually just going to go over a little bit, give myself a little safety on this end. Make a 1/4 inch seam, press it, much better as you can see. Nice 1/4 inch seam, and I cannot recommend enough that 1/4 inch foot with a guide that comes with the 32 presser foot set. Okay, so on the other end, I've stopped my seam 1/4 of an inch from the edge right there. So I'm going to do this seam, then I will just square it off once it's sewn, and I'll sew this seam. For the yellows, I need to decide whether I want, if I do only triangles, it's going to be a little smaller than I want it. So I am thinking maybe I will actually just do the gradient, just do some vertical rectangles here. I could do a really skinny piece here. They don't have to be all the same size, and I'm sure I'm going to say that I like that better when they're not all the same. I'm going to make some longer strips, so I'm just going to cut them in half, and then I'm going to sew one into the other, and that will give me longer strips so I can fill the rest of the length of my quilt. And that is the easiest thing to do, especially with a good ruler and a good rotary cutter. And I'm going to do 2 pieces at a time, so I am matching the selvages. Make sure I have a nice straight line. So I am going to align one of the straight lines of in my ruler with the selvage. And actually, let me finger press the rough center. As you can see, they're not exactly the same, so I'm just going to roughly fold it, find the center, and that will be my cutting mark right there. So I'm aligning this line here, and press down gently, and see what a nice grip this ruler gives you. It really is nice. Move your fingertips down and finish your cut. And then we'll just make a 1/4 inch seam, and that will give us a really nice long strip that will square off at the end. Okay, so I'm going to do that with the rest of the pieces, and I'm going to go ahead and sew those long strips. This is what I'm thinking. And I don't want them, one thing that I don't want is, I don't want them all the same size, the same width, and I do not want a seam coinciding with this. So what I'm going to do, I think it's going to be the easiest way, is I'm going to sew the first 2 together without trimming anything, and then the last 2, and then I'll trim them, and then I'll decide what I want to do with the center one. Okay, and that way I can trim one wide and one narrow and decide how I want to do it. So let me just show you one thing to think about when you're doing your seams. Here's where I join them together. So when I sew these 2 together, I want to make sure that these seams are not pointing in the same direction. I want them like this, so that the fold on this one is going down and the fold on this one is going up. Do the whole seam, and these edges at the ends don't need to match because we're going to trim that off. All right, so I'm looking at this, and now I just need to decide whether I want my gradation to go from dark to light or from light to dark. And I like the contrast here, but I don't think I'm liking the contrast here so much with the lighter fabric. So I'm going to turn it around and see if I like that better. Oh yeah, yeah, I do like this better. I'm going to start by making this first strip narrower, and okay. So I'm not going to make it super narrow, but I'm just going to use the width of my ruler. Just going to make it easy on myself. So I'm going to line up the edge of the ruler with the seam. And I'm just going to press down on this. Safety off. And what am I going to do with the next one? Actually, I'm going to make it just a little bit narrower. I think I'm going to leave this to their full width. So we're just going to sew them together. And then I'm going to trim this up. And also I wanted to show you that when I sewed these first strips together, I made sure that this strip and that strip that are going to frame my center one have the seam going up. So then I can do the same kind of seam matching here. Okay, just be mindful of that when you're putting strips together. Okay, here it is. So I went ahead and, did the central seam and then just trimmed everything around to size, made sure all my angles are square so I can bind it easily. Not bad for a few fat quarters and rotary cutter work and the handy dandy ruler, the gripping ruler. I really, really love this thing. All right, well, as always, if you have any questions, let us know. I do hope you give improvisational quilting a try. It really is a lot of fun to do. Just go with the flow and try to figure it out as you go. As always, any questions, let us know in the comments, and do follow us on YouTube. We have plenty of videos for you.